Okay, here we are back at home base. This is the VM changer that was in the unit. This was an afterthought. This was a drop-in changer. I'm trying to look for the date here. It doesn't have it, but it's usually stamped. It was wired for mono. What I can show you is, well, I won't take it out of the cartridge. Let me get. Okay, it's got a runette, wired for mono only here. Just these. So whoever did that didn't know what they were doing. I like how they put a spare needle hanging off the back of the other one, and it does have good tips on each. I'm told these runettes hold up pretty good. We're kind of left with this because I don't believe this does have the 1/2" standard screw mount, so we can put a standard replacement in there. Maybe we can use that on something else. Some of these VMs have the turnover only mounting for the cartridge, but this does not. Included was the 45 adapter, and it's in the middle of cycle because the button is up. It's missing the screws here because when he dropped it in, he or she, they just placed it in there. They didn't do any modifications other than just taking those off. So this was just floating in there. We'll go out and have a look at the chassis. Okay, and this is the unit here. We don't have much time. The sun is going down, and it's going to get quite chilly. So this is going to stay out here for the evening. I think what we're going to have to do is one piece at a time bring this in. Now this is a 10 BP4 in here, 10-inch CRT, AM/FM radio. He said he powered it up and the tubes did not light. I'm going to go and see if we have any service information quickly. It's a KCS 30 chassis. And I really don't think it's going to take, with all the parts we have from the other sets, I really don't think it's going to take a lot to get this going. So we'll go inside and see what we have for a KCS 30. That is the, I'll get you a shot of the radio. And noticing this thing slid back this far during the trip. We had it right up with the foam against here, but it even with these straps, I've tightened them, it slid a good 8 inches. Again, we checked the television chassis before we left, and there are only 2 of the 4, actually 3 of the 4 screws holding it. And that is a transformed radio. It is AM/FM. We should close those plates. There's some kind of funky IF transformers in there, but let's see what we have for service information. Tube diagram right there. I was wondering what it used for the amplifier. Obviously it uses the radio is separate. Tuning is he said the radio did work. Oh, I have to find the tuning. The tuning is this right here. A second. I always like to make a habit of closing the plates. That's the Model 8TV 323. Standard and frequency modulation. Alright, consulting some of the service data we got last week. That's a KCS 30. And I know it's before 1952. That's a 1949 or 50 set, so this won't help us any. Okay, while you're out picking up items from folks, they always seem to ask, what else do you want, or what else do you need? And I'm like, nothing. Well, he asked, do you want a cassette deck? And I said, no, not really, but I'll take a look at it. And this is from, he said he bought it in Japan, a Teac cassette deck. I would date this about, well, he said 1976. And we do have the instruction manual. It's all complete. May need belts or whatnot, but that's the Teac A440 stereo cassette deck. And then a few short moments later he comes out with the owner's manual. In many languages. Okay, so that'll do it. I don't know if they gave a schematic. That's always helpful, but by this stage in the game, highly unlikely. 1976 Teac. Thanks for watching. Okay, I have the chassis out of that set, but the KCS30. But they didn't tell you, even the SAMs, how to get the chassis out. They simply said slide it back. Well, you can't, because the tube restricts that. I pull it back and it's dangling by the neck on the focus coil and yoke and that. And that's not right. So I pulled the tube forward, basically dropped it in the cabinet, and then pulled the chassis out with the tube still in the set. And I notice on the cabinet, I'll show you, that's just a shot of the SAMs up on the computer. But nowhere does it tell you how to remove the set from the chassis from the set. Now here's our tube, and by the way, the anode wasn't even connected to it, and I have not tested this, but it is a 10 BP4. And I noticed something in the cabinet once I took it out, but it was basically dangling by the neck, and that can't be right. So I slid the neck forward and left it in the cabinet. I'll show you the cabinet. Okay, here's the inside of the cabinet, and if you notice, there's a wing nut up here, and this is live and learn, but I remember that the tubes were always installed separate, someone told me, when the TVs first come out. So you loosen this and you push it out, and many of you may know this, but then the escutcheon will, I'm assuming, come out the front doors. That's how you put the tube in from the front. You can't follow what the SAM says. And I believe I do have the service info on this year's set, but I can't find it amongst all the paperwork in the library. But we're getting the chassis out of here so this cabinet can be a little more manageable and get it inside. We'll leave the radio. There's the date, 8/1950. The other video didn't show the front of this. We have a little veneer damage here, which I'll glue. That's from where the radio opens. But I assume this whole panel comes out, see? Like so, and that's how you put the tube in. They don't tell you that in the SAMs. So we'll go ahead and try it. Even this piece here is in the way of getting this panel out, so I've just gone, and it's so dry and crumbly, it's nailed in, but I just turned it 90 degrees to see if I can get this panel past it, because it wouldn't go past it before, but now it should. Wind's blowing, and it's impossible to do one-handed at that. That's how that comes out, and that's how you put the tube in. Okay, here's the 10 BP4 out of that set. I've never noticed what a long neck these have. I've started the tester. I have the filament down low to start, but that's been long enough. Bring it up gradually. 6.3. The tube slit. I'll give this about 30 seconds or a minute or so, and we'll proceed to test. Okay, it's a little under a minute. And just to recap, when I found this in the set, or when I was trying to remove it, not knowing that it came out from the front, figuring that out later, but we didn't do any damage. But the anode wasn't even attached, and this tube had spun around in the cabinet, so it had seen some kind of, that could have happened on the trip home, who knows. But the anode cap was probably 180 degrees out of where it was supposed to be. Okay, we're on 6.3. Do shorts. Try and set cutoff. Well, that's emission there. See if we can set cutoff. We can set cutoff. Cutoff sets. Cutoff sets, so that's a good sign. Now I know this tester always shows bad. Let's see, it's creeping up. We do have other 10BP4s we've tested with this tester, and they've gone right into the good. So we'll leave this on a few minutes without touching anything, and we'll check the cutoff, and we'll come back and, oh, it's only been on about a minute, so let's just leave it rest on 6.3 for a few minutes. Now, as far as the rest of this chassis, I've taken all the knobs and screws and back cover screws, put them in a bag. As I said, the anode cap here was not even attached to the tube. That's the antenna. I don't know if this has an audio output because it has the audio feed going into the radio. KCS30. I'll show the front here. I've gone ahead and put this piece back in. The rubber here is kind of dried up, but I had to get this out of the way, and so this thing would slip out and back in properly. As I said, there's a piece of veneer damage there, but I think the radio is on a rubber mount, and the rubber has come down a little bit. See, I don't like opening it because it pulls on that piece of, that's gonna break off, but I'll have to get to that. And this came with, I believe, an RP178 changer, which it no longer has. But I've seen what it looks like. So we have TV, phono, AM, FM, and auxiliary tuning. So we close the plates. Treble and bass, and that's just a switch. And of course the volume. FM and AM. We'll close this back up. We'll mend that veneer. That won't be too hard. So it's in its resting spot for now. I'm tempted to try this chassis on one of those test tubes at a later date. Have to get caught up with some other things, but it's all complete. We'll test the tube. We're going to set the tube right next to it, and that'll do it for this portion of this pickup of this unit. Okay, back on the 10BP4. It's been sitting now at 6.3 for about 4 minutes. The emission reads about the same. Let me check the cutoff. Let's cut off there. It's about the same. If anything, it went down. I don't think it's bad. Like I say, I've seen this tester. I have seen a 10BP4 test way up. It's climbing as it's on emission, and the cutoff is good. So it may have some hours on it, but I don't think it's a bad tube. It's climbing. Well, it continues to climb, so I'm going to leave it at that and put it with the rest of the set. It's still climbing. In a moment or so, it's going to be right on the line between good and bad. And there it goes on the line. Alright, so that'll do it for this. We'll go set this down next to the rest of the set so it's all complete together. About the sound, I was just noticing on this part of the SAMs, it does say that this output 6 AV6 and 6V6 is only used in some models. The asterisk, I don't know what, yes, that's the dotted line. So it does not have an output stage, this television. So there is the ad. I managed to just keep some of it. It's since been removed. Condition salvage, and I should have kept some of the other pictures. But basically, there's the VM changer, a couple of the decals, the radio, and whatnot. It says the TV is not working. Cleaning out basement. And my deceased brother-in-law left in my basement 20 plus years ago. So it is the dead man's TV walking. So we'll place the tube back with the set, the knobs. No real new battle scars. Every time you move this stuff, there's always a chance of something, but it's good for now, and we're going to leave it as is for the moment. Thanks for watching.